one of the issues on departmental financial support, and again, this comes through in this marvelous book, but the undergrad scholarships are there, the graduate fellowships, they're absolutely critical.
Yes.
They're few in number, but they provide extraordinary flexibility for studies, and that's why these Valor Fellowships are great. And we owe Dale a huge debt for working so closely with Mr. Valor to do that.
And then hanging in there and managing them.
Managing the whole thing very, very well.
Because he set a tone which is good, and it's going to be difficult to muck up, quite frankly. And that's good news.
Yeah. The other part, I mentioned earlier, the thing that really would help at the margin is endowment for being able to support matching support for equipment and so on.
Yes.
But the world has changed now, also in that very skilled technicians, highly educated technicians, are crucial to the conduct of business.
Yeah.
And that's something that has not largely been understood under state funding. That's something else we probably will have to go and endow.
I think you make a point. I mean, you put together equipment, laboratories that cost goodness knows how much money.
Right. But you have to maintain it.
You should cherish them and have outstanding technicians working in those.
Agreed.
Yes.
They
cost money.
The other part that we've found is really beneficial to all parties is endowed professorships.
Yes, no doubt.
And we have a handful available, but we're enormously grateful to the people who have endowed.
The difficult time in a professional life is you've been successful, you've dealt all with the promotional hurdles. It's really, you're just pleasing yourself from now on.
Right.
And one hopes will do a good job and looking after the profession as well in that sense. To find an additional reward system where a person can have an endowed chair, which doesn't provide his salary, but provides him operational money.
A little walking around money.
Walking around, he can look after students to do things which are unusual.
Right.
Things. I mean, there's so
risky.
many.
You can fund risky stuff.
We have the Osberg one, this remarkable, and the Kylie one.
Right.
These are great.
Of two truly distinguished
in
graduates.
Both cases, yes. We managed to get in and be successful in the college in picking up the Boeing chair.
Right.
For Ma for a period of time, and the Youngers one, which is supposed to be in manufacturing, for Benjamin a period of time.
And
now of course, the
Greg Miller with
the
Ray Bowen chair.
Yeah. I mean, these are very important, and to the extent that the alumni can help, either individually or collectively.
Let me give you an instance. And Greg Miller brought out an expert in different forms of education from University of Minnesota. He was able to fund that with some of the margin from the Ray Bowen chair.
Quite.
And Ray came along to lunch when we were doing this, and he was absolutely delighted. Every faculty member who could possibly be there was there. We had 3/4 of the faculty attend. And given all the constraints and schedule, that was amazing. And it truly was beneficial. But at the margin, it made a huge difference.
Oh, quite, yes. I mean, this is... presuming that our alumni have benefited from their experience here, to the extent they can be helpful subsequently.
When I look at some of our truly, truly distinguished alumni, the endowed chairs are precious, but the names that go with them are very, very important. Okay?
No doubt. Yeah.
No question. And I look at one glaring omission in here of someone who's a giant in the town, internationally famous, is the late John Skilling. And I would throw that as a challenge to our alumni to step up to the plate and honor one of the absolute giants of the profession who
no doubt about it. No.
And maybe we're self-serving, but it just seems to me a huge omission. I would be embarrassed not to have, if I was associated with that name, not to have been able to do something about that.
Another one in Bill Shannon. There's another in Bill Shannon. I had no troubles there.
The Shannon family have already been generous in setting up graduate support, but there's a case for colleagues to stand up and say, we have a giant in this town, to step up and honour him.
Yeah, no doubt.
Is crystal clear. You'd almost think we're out hustling money, but what can I say? It matters. It really matters.
At the very beginning of my career in universities, it was absolutely clear to me that if I was to function as a successful professional, I'd better be able to raise money.
Right.
First of all, in my research, and secondly, more in the institutional sense. There's nothing to be ashamed of that.
Right.
Because the intentions of raising it are not selfish or anything like that. They're the betterment of things that are done in this institution.
When we look today at some of the very distinguished scientists, there happens to be someone sitting in the Lucasian chair.
Yes, quite, yeah.
Established a long time ago.
Right.
The name goes for a long time,
Right.
and good things happen.
Right.
It is an opportunity.
Yes. It's called the Cavendish Laboratory, not casually. Yes, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
The issue of faculty turnover, that brings some interesting points. When we try to appoint people, we hope that we can bring in a young colleague, junior colleague, and let she or he grow.
Yeah.
But we've had a few exceptions where it has been important to do other things there. And do you want to comment at all on any senior appointments we've done that really, even though they go against the grain of what you and I prefer to do, that you think have made a big difference to us?
Well, I suppose one I squabbled about was the appointment of a senior person in soil mechanics. But it wasn't a bias on my part. We did bring in one of the more distinguished soil mechanicians in the country.
This was Lyman Reese.
Lyman Reese from Texas. And asked him to spend 3 days with us to get a sense not just of the campus, the department and people in soil mechanics here, but also of the profession around here. And to give us some advice on how to proceed in soil mechanics.
Right. Or in soils engineering generally.
Soils engineering, yes. And he did that. And essentially we followed that advice.
He said, bring a senior colleague.
You first of all, you've got to have chronological order. You can't have them all the same age.
Right.
A senior colleague who can establish rapport with the very distinguished practicing population in soil mechanics around.
In soils, this city is remarkable for the talent.
It's remarkable, yes. And
a lot of credit goes to the influence of Shannon and Wilson.
Oh yes. But it's a very distinguished group, and they were excluded from this department. Their influence
for quite a while,
and that's changed completely because of that appointment. Also, someone who provides a role model in the sense that could speak for his colleagues in the national and international scene.
Right.
And the other piece of advice was that we did mainstream stuff rather than stuff on the edge.
Right, and that's important.
And so we have, I believe, a great reputation now in geosynthetics, in earthquakes, in seismic part of geotechnical engineering.
A real success story.
Real success story.
Including
and largely associated with, partially associated with that appointment of Bob Holtz. Yes, yeah. I'm proud of that one.
I think lots of things worked well there.
Yeah.
If you were to describe your management style as a department chair, you and the late Bill Hewlett had a lot in common. It's called walk around.
Well, it's not that I like walking much, but it...
Come on, you walk with your dog every day.
I walk with a dog, but I didn't walk around the department with the dog. But I think a big part of professional life is minimizing the chance of being surprised. I don't care if it's making decisions about suspension bridges or decisions about people or being in the management of people. And you will be surprised if you're not informed.
Right.
And if I want to know what is worrying someone, don't sit in my office and wait for them to come and tell me, because when they come, they'll be explosive. I guarantee it.
Right.
I mean, they've got to get over there. They've got to get past somebody or other in their mind. I mean, it may not be true, but in their mind. And it's not the day of the week they wanted to do it and all the rest of it. They'll be explosive. If you go in and talk to them on a fairly regular basis, see what they want, see what you can do to help. You may not be very significant, but at least you find very early in the game what is of concern.
I think the benefit is you have a better finger on the pulse of what may be troubling people and what they're interested in, and get a sense of, or did you know that such and such was available?
Quite. Oh yes. And they, and one of the nice things I found when I finished being chair is that a colleague said to me, well, you made lots of stupid decisions, but my comments about them are not personal.
Right.
I mean, we still understand each other as good colleagues and friends, and that's not bad.
Not bad, I agree.
Not bad.
How about some observations about our students? Do you remember we had a visitor from University of Auckland a little over a decade ago?
I think it's a bit longer than that, but okay. Yeah, and that was Tony Bryant.
And he summarised things for us that forced us to think about it, and we concluded. What was his observation?
His observation is, aren't they nice?
Exactly.
However he pronounced it, yes.
Yeah, well, you got to allow for the New Zealand pronunciation.
They're splendid students. I mean, they work hard. Most of them are not very well off. They're finding it very difficult to get by. And therefore the help we gave them, I think, as we saw able to, was very helpful. It was much appreciated. They were honest, or are as well. I mean, certainly the ones I came across had no concerns about that type of thing. And the question of motivation, which often comes up in academic circles, was never a part of my professional life with them.
I've had the wonderful experience working with our seniors in their capstone design. I'm proud of those young women and men.
Yeah.
They get the bit in their teeth.
Oh, yes.
And as you've seen some of their design reports, you'd want to hire them.
Quite. Yeah, I mean, it's in their interest. No, I was always delighted with our students.
Agreed.
I mean, they varied from year to year in their interest.
Right.
That's another matter.
I agree, and the subject. One thing about, we've been mentioning from time to time as we're going through distinguished alumni, and we have a list that we pulled out from the book here. Just out of the list here of, first of all, you have honorary members of the American Society of Civil Engineers, is on page 407 in the Centennial book. And then we have members of the National Academy of Engineering, and for people watching this, that's all branches of engineering that come into there. But I looked down that list there, and what do we have, about 8 names in the list?
Probably about 10, but something like that, 10 or 12 in each, yeah.
Right. But on that list there, just mention some names of the list there. You know you knew or met quite a few of them.
Well, Norris was dean here when I came.
Right.
And, I never saw him at his best because he was ill.
Right.
I mean,
he was quite ill when I got
here. He was very
here.
ill, yes. And a man I thought provided good leadership to the college in that period of time. Arthur Anderson established a way of manufacturing pre-stressed concrete.
He was the leader, one of the world leaders.
Just outstanding. This man, Bill Shannon, we talked about.
Extraordinary soils engineer.
Extraordinary, and a gracious person. Ray Clough.
1942 BS degree here.
Yes, and then went on and did weather forecasting at Caltech, and then
for World War II activities,
quite.
Right?
And I worked with him at Berkeley, and we actually taught a common course, a course together in junior structural analysis. And he said, well, we'll do half each. I'll do the bit I know, which is the stuff that he's incredibly good and famous for. And he said, you can do this other bit. And I said, well, that's very nice. If it was smaller, I was delighted, obviously. I sat through his bit. He sat through mine.
That was pretty good all round. He's a remarkable.
Jim Gould.
The late Jim Gould.
Yeah, I met many times actually.
He was
both in New York and when he came out.
He was
here.
also made a faculty honor member of the Chi Epsilon Honor Society.
Yeah. I think
sorry, not a faculty honor member, an honor member of the.
He grew up on this campus. I
right.
think his father was dean of students or something.
Right. Very distinguished engineer.
Yeah, Joe Penzine. Great man. I mean,
right.
He was again at Berkeley with me, or I was at Berkeley with him, to put it in context. And so was Jerry Orlob, and he left Berkeley to go into private practice for many years.
And then back to the University of California, Davis.
Yes, where he's
one of
great.
the foremost water engineers in the world.
Oh, great. I mean, a splendid person. Paul Zier actually took leave at Berkeley when I was there. And that was interesting. And John Skilling, you've already mentioned, running
one of the great structural engineers.
Yes, in this kind. And finally, Ed Wenck, who was a colleague.
Right.
And a man who brought a different viewpoint to civil engineering. This relationship of engineering to society.
There's one of our distinguished alumni that we didn't get around to having included in that list. That's Larry Rosner, who's a member of the Academy of Engineering.
I see, yes,
he did his doctorate in 1969. I know him. He's world class in all aspects of water resource, water quality, management, things that go with it. He's now on the faculty at Colorado State after many, many years with Camp Tristram McKee.
Well, the interesting thing to me is I suspect these numbers are beyond the normal proportions that should come our way.
I feel that way too.
Yeah.
We've had truly extraordinary graduates.
Sure.